Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are getting together for this exciting webinar with Hostfully and Vrbo. My name is Margot, and I'm just going to get us started here. And then we have Rob Esposito from Doco Vacation Rentals up in Door County, Wisconsin. And then we have a great team from Vrbo, Mike Mears, Crystal Sigsby, and Lee Moz. And they're going to be talking about the power of distribution that you can get with using Vrbo on top of the Hostfully platform. As just a quick reminder to any of you who don't know a lot about Hostfully, we offer a property management platform and digital guidebooks. The property management platform helps you distribute your listings across multiple bookings platforms, automate your communications so that you can give a great guest experience. And then also, we are highly integrated with different partners all across the space, including payments providers, dynamic pricing providers, and more. We have a platform approach that lets you choose what partners you want to work with so that you can tailor them to your unique business. And then we also have digital guidebooks, and digital guidebooks is a platform that you can use to communicate with your guests property information and important those local recommendations that will make your guest experience really special. Our digital guidebook platform uniquely works across all different devices, including any mobile device, desktop devices, and in print. And it also gives you the ability to customize it with your brand and logo so that you can really tailor the experience and make it an experience that your guests will remember as being uniquely provided by your company and your brand. Before we get started with our talk from Vrbo today, I wanted us to speak with Rob Esposito from Door County Vacation Rentals about his experience working with Vrbo. Rob, I think you've been working with Vrbo for quite some time. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and in your experience there?
Yeah, so I've been with Vrbo for 6 years, actually, when I purchased my first vacation rental property up here in Door County. And I inherited it from a previous owner. At first, it kind of became a secondary platform for me as I got signed up on Airbnb. But as we added more properties, and over especially the past 2 or 3 years, it's become, just as much of a platform as anything else, specifically. So yeah, and it's just been a great partner.
Mm-hmm. And do you remember way back when you onboarded with Vrbo, or maybe even like when you onboarded with Hostfully? And you onboarded with Vrbo. Can you talk a little bit about that experience, if you can remember?
Yeah, so I've only been with Hostfully actually for about 6 months. And part of the reason I switched is because I had so many issues with my previous property management software, which was LiveRes, and then also working through NextPax. Just so many headaches. So that was the main reason I switched, is just getting everything to work with the different OTAs. And getting a direct connection to the OTAs and not using a channel manager was a huge thing for me. Mm-hmm. And when I first got on the LiveRes, it probably took me 2 weeks of just entering reservations and doing all this work. And my onboarding with Hostfully, I probably got all the work done in a day or two. I mean, it was so much easier. It was just completely different, completely streamlined compared to my previous property management software.
Good. I'm so glad to hear. It's something we've really worked very hard on, and I'm really glad it panned out and helped you with your business. Do you have any like specific advantages or tips let's just start with advantages. Like, how do you think about Vrbo as a channel, as a bookings platform for you? Do you feel like it offers you any specific advantages?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely we use both the big ones, obviously. Like most people, we use Airbnb and we use Vrbo. We're a newer property manager, so we have not been around for 15, 20 years, and we kind of came up in the Airbnb era, I suppose. Having said that, we've always used them both, and we definitely noticed that we get a different type of clientele off Vrbo, especially during the peak seasons, and especially for our larger properties, larger houses. Mm-hmm. So platform that we like to be on, to just kind of get those higher quality guests, mm-hmm. so that we can make hay while the sun shines, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And it's been really great for those sorts of properties.
Cool. And do you have any like pro tips for the ways that you've marketed your properties on Vrbo that you'd want to share with other property managers out there, assuming they're not in your region? I'm just kidding, but.
No. So pro tips. I'm not so sure about that. I would say that with all things, whether it's any OTA, it's just best to be quick to respond and to just be on top of that, and not using a property management software or something to manage your messaging is kind of crazy right now. I mean, both with keeping up with messages so people are getting a great experience, and also just kind of optimizing for search rankings, you have to be getting back to people very quickly. And then also, it's, another great thing we like about it is that when you're a property manager and you're working with Vrbo with a direct connection, you still get to be the payment processor and have control over your funds. Now, maybe in the past couple months, if you weren't, up on your accounting, maybe it was a good thing if you weren't in control of your own funds as we were handing out all those refunds and stuff with COVID. But, at the end of the day, I think it's something that we definitely prefer. Something we're glad we've been able to keep, as so many other property managers in the area have been complaining about not being able to get their funds as quickly. It's been great to be able to keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear. Thank you so much, Rob. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the Vrbo team to tell us a little bit more about this partnership and what power they can get out of working with Hostfully and Vrbo together. Here we go.
Yeah, okay. For sure. Hope everybody's doing really well today. Thanks, Rob. And thank you, Hostfully and team. And certainly not least, thank you, everyone, for taking a little bit of your day to hang out with us and gain a little knowledge on how third-party marketing vendors and OTAs bring value. In the grand scheme of things, it's important to know that what your options are and how they actually work, especially right now. So we'll have a question and answer session after we get done. So feel free to use the questions tab over there in Livestorm to post anything that you might want answered. And this is us. So all three of us are here on the webinar here today. My name is Mike. I've been with HomeAway, Vrbo, pick a name, for about 11 years. I'm kind of the old guy on the block. Crystal and Lee are way more savvy than I am. I'm going to toss the baton over to those guys. Crystal?
Hi, I'm actually the newest one on the team. I've been here for about a year. Before this, I worked in real estate and actually managed my own vacation rental. So I'm happy to be here and help you to onboard with Hostfully.
Hi, my name's Lee, and I'm on the team with Crystal and Mike. I've been at Vrbo for about 7 years, but I've been working with property managers or property owners in the past. Now I work with property managers. Excited to be here today and help you guys out.
Yep. And basically us three, we're kind of the frontline team when it comes to property managers. So if you've never been listed before, or you don't know where to go, or you don't know who your account manager is and you're listed with us right now, you're always welcome to start with us. We want to make sure that you guys can see us and put a name to a face, really. So anyways, nice to meet everybody. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. There we go. Okay, let's talk about the agenda real quick. So first thing that's going to be up is we're going to talk about who is looking at the site and how it relates to your inventory. Then we're going to talk about the mission, and we're going to talk about how to make sure your listing sites really pop in order to get in front of this traffic. And then we're going to tweak the dials a little bit, and we're going to make sure that your listings are even more attractive during this post-virus recovery type period. And then the last thing we're going to do is just basically leave you some contact links for getting started with integrating with Hostfully with Vrbo, if you so choose or you haven't known how to in the past. One quick note that I do want to make before we get started. We want to congratulate Hostfully. They are a certified preferred partner in 2020. So nice circle of applause here for you guys. Woo! Preferred partners set themselves apart from other PMSs and software companies in their business performance and technical performance. And they are in the top 25% of over 75 partners that we connect to with globally. So what that really means, to break it down, is that not only are they great to work with, but both teams from our side and theirs have worked together to make sure that you can access and update the content that is needed to be successful on our website directly from your software. So great job doing your research. And so let's jump right into this. Okay, so the mission for Vrbo, what is our strategy focus point, right? We're looking to put properties in front of travelers that are going to be more likely to turn into a successful booking and a great experience. So we want to point them to the right property for the right time, okay? And so we're going to talk about those types of travelers first. This is what you should be expecting from us on the Vrbo site when you're looking to see what kind of travelers are going to visit the website, okay? So first slide here. Family has always been the VRBO niche. Although the newer players have introduced a younger and urban flavor to the industry, we still lead with family. And our average stays tend to be between 4 to 7 nights versus 2 to 3 nights as on other websites. This is because the type of inventory we lead with is usually a little bigger and can host larger groups. So if you're looking at your inventory as a whole, it's always a really good idea to kind of see what size inventory you have and maybe lead with that first if you've never tried us before. Vacation rentals are starting to average around the same cost as a hotel. So with that shift comes the exposure of our industry as well. So travelers are realizing that they can get more for their money. And through the eyes of the traveler, these are the things that they kind of value the most. So we talked about family. The other piece is space and privacy. And then the affordability and the flexibility piece. You know, these two things, the hotels and the VR industry are getting closer when it comes to just the strategy part of it. You know, you're seeing vacation rentals costing the same amount as a hotel. So it's getting people to rethink where they're actually going to stay. On top of that, with the value piece, there's also themes as well. So they're looking for ease of use. They're going to be looking for flexible cancellations and refunds. Can they have the same types of guarantees that they can get from the hotel industries? You know, trip destinations, can they plug in a place they really want to go and see that directly on the website? Timing, when is the best time for themselves to travel with their families? Summer times, after Labor Day, things like that. And then, of course, the new and updated one is going to be cleanliness. This has become more important than ever, and Lee's going to touch on this a lot heavier as we keep going. Now, with all of this data, we want to let you guys know that we have actual catered data for each individual property manager in the VRBO/HomeAway dashboard. So there's a lot of this type of data that is hosted by other companies out in the industry. This is just one option for you to be able to get direct data from us. And we want to be able to let you know what you're seeing personally as you're seeing bookings coming in to VRBO and HomeAway. So you'll be able to go into your site, or you can contact an account manager, whether it be us or you already have one assigned to you with VRBO, and you can actually see the behavior that is being represented during this time. So right now we've kind of updated our market insights to show COVID-19 data, what's going on right now, where are the shifts happening, where's the recovery happening, and really try to help you get ahead of this and really come out successful. If you're already hooked up with Hostfully, then, you know, obviously, and you're on the site, you can get access to this. If you haven't signed up with VRBO and you want to connect, this is stuff that you can be looking forward to. So you'll be able to find out, you know, how your cancellation policy is stacking up. If you have a strict cancellation policy, is it turning travelers away? Should you bring that back a little bit, maybe make it a little more flexible? Where are your travelers coming from? What is the average length of stay that you're seeing on your inventory? And we want to be able to allow you to have this stuff because we obviously know that every property manager is a horse of a different color, and we want to make sure that you guys can really cater into your specific needs. So just to kind of wrap this first part up, you know, this is the type of travelers you should be expecting, but at the same time, we want to be able to deliver this data to you so you can really cater to your individual needs. So let's move on. One more slide before I'm going to turn this over to Crystal real quick. So the opportunity here, guys, is almost limitless. Being underneath the Expedia umbrella, we are working constantly on getting more exposure for you through various channels. Some of this stuff is coming soon. Some of this stuff you might be seeing or not seeing at the moment, but all of this stuff is forward progress. And you're going to be seeing a lot of traveler interest coming from these types of websites as well. So it's a great time if you're looking to get more occupancy and to fill the spaces, to know that you're getting a lot of marketing for your money here. So thank you very much for this first part. We also want to just remind you one more time that if you haven't seen it already, there is a recovery in place going on right now. VRBO is heavily seeing it right now. If you're not on right now and you have been interested in wanting to get on, come talk to us. We'll talk about your specific needs and see what works best for you. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Crystal, and she's going to talk about the bones and how to actually set this thing up so you can make it look great and act great. Go, Crystal.
Thanks, Mike. Like you said, I'm going to help you with giving you a highlight of things you can do to improve your listings so that you can be successful on Vrbo. So how we determine that is through what we like to say the big four. So these are the things that Vrbo has found to be successful, and this is actually how we measure you as well. So great content, competitive rates, accepting and honoring bookings, and excellent feedback. So great content is going to be photos, your virtual tours, amenities, and really just setting the story for the traveler so that they can imagine their vacation, where they're going to be and what they'll be. For instance, making sure that your pictures are clear and bright so that they can see everything that is possible in this vacation home. As you can see here, we have 2 images and one's really dark where the other one's bright, and it's the same room. Makes a huge impact. Another important feature is showing photos of local attractions that are near your property. This again is helping to paint that story and letting the traveler know where they should go and stay. Making sure to have all of your amenities that you have available at your property selected in Hostfully, so that way you're not missing out on travelers, because travelers are using that as a filter when they're selecting properties. Just as an example, these are some of the top filters that travelers are using. If you go to Hostfully's website, they actually have a really great article about these amenities and what travelers are looking for. And some of these right here are just some of the big ones. And location is a big thing that travelers will use as a filter. So make sure you have your location filters. If you're near the water, make sure that you have that filter set. If you have, if it's child friendly or family friendly, make sure that you have those filters set as well. Now we're going to talk about the consistent and competitive rates. Making sure that your nightly rate is competitive and consistent will help you to get more bookings on our site. Here you can see a comparison of 2 properties. One has their nightly rate really high while the other one has it much lower, even though they're in the same area. And as you can see, they have 246 bookings versus the other one with 185. And you wonder, well, it's also something we did some studies on, and 85% of travelers are seeing this as an important feature for them when they are going to select where they're going to stay. And you're wondering, well, maybe how can I do that? Well, one, you have a whole team of successful partner managers here at Vrbo that can help you with market data reports, or you can go to the Vrbo dashboard and look at the Market Maker tool, and that will also help you with setting your price. Last, also accepting and honoring bookings. This is another important feature, and this is something that we will score you on and will help you to improve on our site. A low cancellation rate will actually get you more bookings on our site, as well as if you're accepting it right away. One of the benefits of being on Hostfully is that you already have instant booking enabled, so you're already ahead of the game and you're getting exposure on some of our other channels, including Expedia. Lastly, excellent feedback is super important in helping getting bookings. 86% of travelers will not book accommodations without reading reviews first, and 78% of them consider it to be as important as personal recommendations. How you can get reviews on our site, if you're having a traveler, if you go to the dashboard, you can actually go in and rate the traveler or also request a review from the traveler. I don't recommend starting off with rating the traveler because you actually have a year to get a review from a traveler on Vrbo. If you use the rate tool, it does create that 2-week window. I kind of say to use that as a last resort because it does tell them they can't see the review until they have reviewed you. So again, I wouldn't use that until it's a last resort. One of the benefits though at Hostfully is that your reviews from your other sites will transfer over onto Vrbo. So I did see that in the questions earlier. So yes, you would be able to pull those reviews over to Vrbo.
I want to take a few minutes to talk about our options for getting property seen and booked on Vrbo. So here's a compelling fact. This is from a Vrbo survey of travelers conducted in April of this year. More than 70% of travelers are willing to book a vacation rental this year, and that's a huge opportunity for Hostfully property managers, so consider how you can take advantage of this. So how do we make sure your properties are getting in front of Vrbo travelers when they're ready to book? Well, before we dive into this, we should understand there's been a big shift in how travelers make decisions. The appetite for travel is probably stronger now than ever before, but the uncertainty of everything right now has made travelers A, risk averse, both physically and financially, and B, more picky due to all the availability in many of the markets. So per Crystal's discussion, now's a good time to optimize your listing. And here's 5 key things you should focus on. Make sure your listings are available. Showcase what travelers say they want. Be flexible with your policies. Stay competitive in your market. Make travelers feel safe and welcome. And I know it all seems pretty basic, but let's take a look at these a little bit in more detail. So be available. We can't sell your dates or show your inventory in search if your listings aren't available. Double check for unnecessary blocks on your calendar. You'd be surprised, but this happens all the time. If you're blocked, you're not seen. Minimum night stay. This is a big lever for appearing in more search. The more you lower your minimum night stay requirements, the more travelers will see you. And you're not married to a single minimum night stay setting. You can use Hostfully's flexibility to lower this for last minute bookings, weekdays, and slower times. You can always raise it as your occupancy grows or you want to prepare for a high season. So be sure to reach out to us and get that market insights report that shows you the minimum night stay guidance in your market. You also want to check your Vrbo dashboard to make sure that all the listings you expect to be live are in fact live. It's common for property managers to update their bank details, their credit card information, and if they don't update it in the dashboard, then commission payments get missed, and this causes listings to go down. And so the more properties you manage, the more difficult it can be to see and make sure they're all live. Our dashboard makes it easy to check on this. So this slide is really all about filtered search on Vrbo. About 30% of our travelers use filters, and the median number of filters is 4. Amenities are key because they provide value for your rate, but they also create fantastic search opportunities for your properties. Amenities like pools, barbecue grill, Wi-Fi can make the difference between being seen or not. And here's a pro tip. Barbecue grill is one of the most sought after features when someone is searching. Barbecue grills are cheap. They're easy to have. Get one, take a picture of it, put it in your photos. People search for this on the site. When you have it, it gets you more search. It just keeps you from being filtered out. It's also equally important you verify your property type and location are accurate. Is your property a single family home or a multifamily condominium? Do you have a location type that describes what you're near? Beach, downtown, ski in, ski out. This also includes what there is to do: hiking, biking, golfing, and shopping. All these are searchable, so make sure you have them checked off. When we asked travelers how important a flexible cancellation policy was, the answer came in loud and clear. It's extremely important. And they're choosing with their wallets. 78% of travelers are telling us a flexible cancellation policy is very or extremely important. As a result, we're seeing an uptick in bookings for listings that offer the relaxed cancellation policy. So here's the proof. Properties experience a 26% higher conversion on Vrbo when they adopt our 2 most flexible cancellation policies. When our account managers see the relaxed or moderate cancellation policy is not enabled, it's an easy lever to pull and get more bookings for your properties. Be flexible. Consider adjusting your cancellation policy now. You can always change it later to a more conservative option. Also think about your payment schedule. If you require 1 payment, can you live with 2 or possibly 3? The easier it is for a traveler to commit to your property, the more bookings you'll receive. House rules. Here's another opportunity for flexibility. Can you accommodate more guests per stay? Can you accept children or pets? Vrbo is focused on attracting families, and making your property a place that families want to book is going to get you those bookings. So house rules, if you think about it, all these are searchable features. So if you can make an adjustment on your house rules, that's going to allow you to pick up more potential bookings. And remember, whatever changes you make, you're not married to them. You can always adjust these things later because they're all searchable. Okay, let's talk about staying competitive. Listings evolve over time. So as Crystal pointed out, keep optimizing your listing. Take advantage of your known opportunities. If something doesn't work out, like a new thumbnail photo or headline, you can change it later. Rates are probably the most important aspect of staying competitive. Rates are searchable. So monitor your competition regularly, know your rates. Do you offer discounts for a week or a month-long stay? Do your rates reflect the value you offer? Get familiar with Vrbo's Market Maker tool. It makes it easy to identify competitive opportunities, specifically in your market and based on similar properties to yours. And be transparent with your fees. Perhaps listing extra fees in your property description, or can you build these into your nightly rate? Can you eliminate or reduce guest fees temporarily? When travelers are surprised by unexpected or high fees, they tend to drop off and they don't complete the booking. Okay, make travelers feel welcome. The health and safety features are searchable filters as well. Some markets have more inventory than usual right now as things begin to rebound. You can't discount what some people are going to be looking for. So if your property has a smoke detector or a carbon monoxide detector, check it off in Hostfully. We'll talk more about cleaning in a minute, but you can highlight what you do in several places on your listing. Reviews. As Crystal mentioned, reviews are important, probably the second most important feature of the listing behind photos. Work for your reviews, understand your options for acquiring them in the dashboard. And if you have a great review that mentions flexibility or cleanliness, post it on top of your property description. This is a great way to reinforce what you're doing right and give travelers a chance to see it. Cleanliness matters. It used to be that this referred to when a guest opened the property and they went, wow, this property is really clean, or, oh, it's not. But now cleanliness is something that's researched during the booking process. And so you need to be prepared for that. When we asked travelers back in April, they consider cleaning protocol as the second most important consideration when making a booking decision after the flexible cancellation policies. 82% of travelers say cleaning information is useful before booking a property. Remember, you may now be competing for travelers who typically stay at hotels and may not understand the professional cleaning standards you have in place at your property. Well, how do you merchandise all this? There's a few ways. Consider using your headline and description to call out professional cleaning. Outline your protocol in your description. Use a photo to show the on-site cleaning supplies that you may make available to guests. Vrbo recently upgraded our health and safety section to promote your cleaning practices. Apply and promote recommendations from the Centers for Disease Control and Vacation Rental Management Association. These are great resources. And be sure to call attention to any self-check-in and check-out if you offer it. And if you don't, maybe you could. Also, consider adding buffer days between reservations. And if you're going to do this, make sure you promote it. So the Vrbo Discovery Hub is a fantastic resource for all things Vrbo. Type in keyword COVID for a comprehensive list of all the up-to-date best practices surrounding the COVID recovery. And this is generally updated daily by our staff. The rebound, it's happening now. We encourage you to review your listings in Hostfully, be flexible, promote your cleaning practices, and make sure you're part of the recovery. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Mike.
Great info, guys. So let's talk really quickly about how do we do this, right? So I think that there's been a lot of questions around, sounds good, VRBO, but how do we do it? right? So there are two ways that you can jump on the site if you want to give us a shot. First thing is obviously you got these 3 mugs here, and any account managers at the VRBO office are more than happy to help you if they're already working with you. If you don't know how to contact us, or you have specific questions and you just want to get the ball rolling and have somebody contact you, you can actually reach out to us at the email there. It's in blue. I wish I could make it a different color, but that's okay. It's PM, as in property manager, sales inquiry at homeaway.com. Yes, we're using the old HomeAway email still. So PM sales inquiry at homeaway.com. We'll get the process started if you need to just submit a request, whether you just want to learn about us or if you really do want to get connected, things like that. We can walk you through all of those steps. So the only other thing that we really kind of want to put as a key takeaway from all of us here at VRBO is, first of all, once again, thanks for listening. But second of all, I think the best tip that we can give you is consider your own websites, right? Think about how much time and effort that you put into these things, and you make them look good and you make them perform good. If you put the same type of idea behind your OTAs as you do with your websites, you're going to see the success. Okay. If you've got the room and you've got the occupancy to book, you can do it. And all of these things that you've seen here that we've reviewed are pretty straightforward. The only other key takeaway I would say is that the visual aspect right now is a little more important than it ever has been. So when Lee was talking about having cleaning supplies or making sure that barbecue pit or that blender for those foodies out there, having little things like that out there on your listings are super huge and can be the difference between somebody booking a more expensive place down the road just because they saw something that catered to them directly. So if you've got little unique things, make sure to have that out there. Put those in your photos and whatnot. Other than that, thank you from us. We really appreciate having the time to be able to talk to you about this. There has been a question tab going, and we've been answering most of those there. As you go, we'll continue to do those. Otherwise, Margot, do we want to wait to do a general Q&A, or do we want to do that now, or how would you like to do it?
Yeah. So thank you for all the people, Michelle and Sherry and Pally and Scott, who've been asking questions in the questions area. We've been answering them. I think there are a few in here that would be kind of helpful for the broader audience to hear about. So I'm going to cherry pick a few. Does that sound good to everybody?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first question was about reviews. And Crystal, you mentioned this in your response, but I wondered if you could just reiterate how reviews work. So if there are reviews in the Hostfully platform, can they bring them in? Can you talk to that again?
I don't know much about the technical aspect of them coming from Airbnb. I was going to say that would be more of a question from you guys, but when it's related to Vrbo reviews, I do know that we allow some reviews to populate our site.
Yeah, that's typically part of your onboarding process, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Thank you.
I can confirm the Airbnb thing. We do not currently sync the Airbnb reviews, just so you know.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. I just want to be clear. I think that's helpful for everybody. Great. We know about the pro tip of the barbecue.
Barbecues are everything.
Barbecues. I looked for a barbecue last time I looked at a vacation rental. We did have a question about getting a copy of the presentation slides. We're happy to make that available to people. So there will be a follow-up email, and we can link to the slides there. So if you guys want to download them, you can do that. Oh, here's a question. What is an OTA? I'll let the Vrbo team answer that one.
Well, that's a fantastic question. So OTA is all slang. You want to answer it, Crystal?
I was about to, but yeah, you can get to it. Doesn't matter.
Go for it.
It's an online travel agency.
Yes. And can you share a little more about that? Like what?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So basically, we are an online travel agency, and it's a place where you go to market your properties. Airbnb, Expedia, those are all different types of what we like to say OTAs.
Yep, exactly. So OTAs, it's basically it's like a booking platform for a traveler, right? So they can, and it's a term that is commonly used to describe websites like Vrbo and Airbnb, etc. Expedia. Okay. I think this would be helpful for everybody to hear about. Can you walk us through just a quick timeline of onboarding and how long it takes to get properties live with Vrbo? I almost said home away. Sorry about that. But
That's okay. VRBO away or home VO. Yeah, you kind of merge them all together, right?
Exactly.
So the topical answer to that is that if all of your content is good to go, meaning that you've built out your photos and your descriptions and done everything in Hostfully content-wise, you have your merchant processor ready to go, so Stripe or Lynbrook or whatever it is that you're using, and you've checked off in the channels tab to syndicate over to us. Once we get you guys to sign one piece of paperwork, it will take a day or two tops. Our team is super, super diligent about trying to get these knocked out as fast as possible. So if you make sure to have those three things ready to go, then you'll be good to go. If you talk to us, so if you don't go through the quick connect onboarding piece that Hostfully also options and you talk to us, we will send you a quick $0 DocuSign on just getting connected between the Hostfully platform and VRBO. When that is signed, they will reach out to you super, super quick. So as long as, like I said, merchant processor's on, content's in there, and you've got us checked off as one of your channels, then literally it's pretty lightning quick.
Awesome. Great. I think that's one of the things that people are concerned about when they're considering onboarding. So it's good to hear that, you know, we have a streamlined process and that we're working really closely with Hostfully's working really closely with Vrbo to make sure that that happens as quickly as possible for property managers. There are a bunch of questions in here. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to take one question from Laura Getz about flexible cancellation. She says, doing this certainly benefits the guest. Do you have any stats on how many are actually canceling then? We use a conservative cancellation policy to protect our owners who have already lost a lot of money this year. So we're kind of hesitant to change, skeptical to change. What do you guys have some words of wisdom on that?
Lee, you had a slide or two about this.
I'll speak to that, and I'll say that, you know, certainly when the pandemic was announced, cancellations, you know, they went way up and fell off the books, and you know that was terrible. But as we're seeing the rebound, you know, we feel like the search and the bookings had bottomed out in April, and now they're climbing back up. The idea behind the flexible cancellation policy is people are nervous. So I don't have any stats to say right now people are booking and then canceling. What people are doing is they're looking for places that they can go and know that the government is allowing businesses to open and operate and the things they want to do are available. And if those things are there, those bookings are happening. But people want to see that flexible cancellation policy so that if there's a government change or some kind of an effort in the community that says, hey, we got to shut down, then they're wanting an out. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if the stat we do have is if you have one of the two more flexible options, the relaxed or the moderate, you're going to get probably a 26% or greater conversion. And it's just because travelers are scared and they want to make sure they're going to be able to take the trip and have an out if they can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tricky time to navigate. I imagine that this is so regionally specific, depending on what the regional climate is in terms of just attitudes around the pandemic, and then also in terms of regulatory changes that are happening. So I've seen in different markets this look very different, and I think it's just unfortunately there's not a universal answer there. We're all trying to do our best, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, there's another good question here. Sorry, I lost. Okay. Now I can't see any of the questions. Oh, now I can see them. Hang on just a second. Can you guys see there's a question from Delbert, and I don't know why. Oh, here it says. So Delbert asked a great question, and thank you, Rob, for responding. But I think this would be helpful to hear for everybody. Delbert's question is, my rates are the same every night of the year. I even advertise that I don't change, or that many rentals change their rates on weekends and holidays, but we stay the same. Do you think this is good practice? So what do you think about pricing?
That is a fantastic question, and I 100% agree with Rob here. So one of the most important things that you can do is keep your rates competitive. And more than likely, if you have a standard rate throughout the entire year, you're probably either undercutting or overcutting yourself at certain points of the year. It's super, super important, at least from our aspect. Rob might have a different aspect on why, but from our aspect, being able to be price competitive is one of the major reasons why people get bookings, is because if you're a traveler, imagine you go into Rob's area or whatnot, and let's say that the standard rate is $150 a night, right? But you've got one cabin or one place down there that's like $99 a night, or you've got one that's like $250 a night, and it sticks way out past everything else. People may take a look at it, but they're going to be kind of weirded out about it, going, why is this more or less? So staying competitive price-wise and using your content to guide them to the experience, I think, is super, super important. Would you agree with that, Rob?
Yeah, and not only pricing, but Price Labs are really any dynamic pricing tool, like beyond pricing, I believe, revenue management, which is not just, like I said, not just price, but also length of stay. So stuff that if you're a property manager, you might be doing right now. You might say, oh, I got this 2-day gap, but I have a 3-night minimum, so I'm going to go in and change that. Well, you can set your software up to do that for you automatically. As soon as you have a 2-day gap, it's going to become available. And that pushes right into Hostfully, which will push to Vrbo and all your channels. That has been like one of the biggest, along with messaging, just like the biggest game changer for us, is just having that take care of itself. It's really been awesome.
Yeah, and I would also just argue from a consumer's perspective that I think most consumers are accustomed to seeing different pricing and pricing change, just like they do with flights. Like I think consumers maybe 6 or 7 years ago would have liked to see like to see a consistent price for a rental, but I think now consumers are used to seeing pricing change day to day, season by season, and I think that it's something that they're willing to accept. So I've seen quite a bit of data on this recently, and I've just encouraged property managers to optimize your pricing so that you're getting the most revenue versus worrying about things like vanity pricing, where you're making even number pricing or you're advertising your pricing strategy to consumers. Okay, let's see. We have a lot of other questions here, a bunch of thank yous here. I know this is the only format you guys have to communicate with us, though. There was a question about buffering between guests from Crass Connect. And I think what this is about kind of having a time where you're not renting the unit in between guests. Have you guys thought, have you guys thought about this at Vrbo? Have you seen this? And what are you, and can we talk a little bit about cleaning and that kind of stuff as a way of mitigating some of the concerns around coronavirus, et cetera?
Sure. I'll start and I'll let Mike or Crystal jump on if they've got some more information. There's recommendations now where you can have anywhere from 72 to 24-hour turnaround time between a booking, and the idea, of course, is to give the property an opportunity to be cleaned thoroughly and give guests the confidence that it's germ-free when they check in, or virus-free. But there's not an automatic process as of right now. We're working on that. But what you would do if this was something you wanted to do is decide what option works best for you, promote it certainly in your description because it's something worth letting guests know about, and then scheduling a turnaround day on the front and back end of every booking. Now, that's not going to work for every property in every market, but that is an option, and it is something that we've been talking about. And I think some people are taking advantage of that to get more bookings. If you're in a market where you're over, there's a lot of markets right now, I believe that are sold out because people have just been wanting to go somewhere and, they can't, they're booked up. But in other places where you're trying to get bookings, that's a lever you can pull to get people to book your property if they're reluctant to do so.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I think also just kind of catering to the penalized thing. Currently, no, we're not penalizing you guys for that kind of stuff, but it is heavily suggested only because of the fact that travelers are really looking for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and just to bring this home even further, making it a business practice to have a certain time frame between guests is important, but also making sure that you include that in your marketing materials. even in your listing description, can be a way of helping to alleviate travelers' concerns, right? So when they're booking with you, so it's kind of like a you have to follow that guide throughout your whole business, but make sure not to forget it on the marketing side, because that's really where it's going to make a big difference for you in terms of getting additional bookings. All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up the time that we have. Thank you so much to everybody for putting in questions. We're going to try to get to all those questions in the area, so we'll answer them within the Livestorm tool if you haven't heard them as an answer on this call. I want to say a huge thank you to Rob and Mike and Lee and Crystal for joining us. We are so happy to be partners with you and to be sharing this great information with property managers everywhere so that they can get the most out of their business. Thank you all so much for joining.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Great. And then again, my name is Margot. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hostfully. If you want to get in touch with us, you can always email us at hello@hostfully.com, and we'll be following up with some emails about this presentation later. Everybody, I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.